Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So this is gonna be sort of chaotic. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you won't know. Took in a cat who was abandoned. My parents, my stepmom and my dad found him in their barn and he was very beat up. So we took him to a vet, we brought him home. He's currently eating. As you can see, my office is just like a complete wreck. And so it's been interesting. I also got new bookshelves. I mentioned it in my last vlog. I am reading books that I found recommended in videos that had my favorite books in them. So one of my all-time favorite romances is Birthday Girl. So that is an age gap romance about a girl named Jordan who moves in with her boyfriend's father, Pike, and it is a romance between the two of them. Looked at a romance recommendation video for Birthday Girl. The thing that came up recommended was Dark Notes by Pam Godwin. This is the Hello Lovely Boxes like special edition. I got it for their scratch and dent sale. This is about a girl who has a romance with her piano teacher, I think, or like her professor. I think she's 17 and she comes from like a mega abusive household, and they start up a relationship. And then another one of my favorite romances is Punk 57. This is a high school bully romance. If you know anything about me or my channel, I love bully romances. So the thing that came up for me for Punk 57 was Shameless King by Maya Hughes. I will put all of the videos that I got these recommendations from down in the description box. I had heard of this author before. You wanna say hi? Come here. You wanna say hi? Say hi. His name is Bane. My other cat's name is Gotham, so we kind of went with the Gotham theme. He had a boo-boo on his head, but it's all healed. You can see where it was shaved. He's a sweet little boy. He loves cuddles. I had heard of this author before, and I hadn't really looked into any of her works because I don't really like the new adult sports thing, so I never really tried to read her. But when this came up as an enemies to lovers romance, I thought I would give it a shot. It seems to be a hockey romance, and it is about a heroine who is like your typical update heroine. The hero needs help with a class, and they group up together. So then next up we have one of my favorite novellas, which is Birthday Shot. This is a brother's best friend romance, and it's a pretty short, steamy novella. I love Rilsey Adams, and for this one I came up with Scoundrel of My Heart, which was part of my 5-star predictions for the year, and I'm really excited to read this. I don't know much about it. All I know is I adore this cover, and it is a brother's best friend romance. So then for Dear Ava, which is kind of an alpha mellow hero. In the beginning of the book, Suf is the victim of a sexual assault, and she goes back to the school where they kind of bully her because she didn't know who did it, but she knew that it happened at this party, and so she tells the police and everybody at the party gets in trouble, and so she's very ostracized. And the hero actually not saves her from bullying, but like keeps her from being bullied. He is very popular. I believe he's like a football player or something like that. And he is just so sweet. He's a huge alpha mellow. If you don't know what that is, it's like an alpha hero who is just gone for the heroine, who's a soft little bean for his heroine. I knew that I wanted to read a hero like that. I love Dear Ava, so when I looked up a recommendation video for Dear Ava, what came up was Wolfgang Wilde. So this is a paranormal romance, and it follows a woman who is a witch and a guy who is hexed. He is a wolf shifter and he cannot shift, and so he enlists the help of some witches to get rid of the curse that is on him. And then the last read that I actually have the book with me, but Bane is in my lap and he's getting scratches, so we're gonna flash the picture up on the screen. I looked up, I wanted a reverse harem. I wanted something like Hate by Tate James, which is one of my favorite reads of last year. It didn't make it into my top 5, but I absolutely love it. And so when I looked up recommendations for things like Hate, I came across the Lady of Rook's Grave Manor. This is another seemingly paranormal romance, and it is a reverse harem, and I think it's about a woman who goes to like a den of iniquity or something like that, and you can have your sexual fantasies with any monster or anything like that involved, and it's obviously multiple partners. So those are the books that I am going to be reading for the video. Just to make this intro a little bit longer, we will talk about the books that I am currently in the middle of. I am 50% of the way through Shameless King, and like I said, this is a college hockey romance. The hero is a hockey player, and in the beginning of the book, he gets told by his coach that he has failed a class, and if he doesn't take it again and do well, then he will not be able to participate in his senior year of game play or whatever. And so he takes this class, and the heroine also has to take this class because she transferred to this college, and they wouldn't let her get out of taking the class. It's like a sophomore seminar thing. I don't know. They haven't fully explained what it's about or like what it really does. And then they get paired together because they're both seniors. What? And the heroine is the stereotypical, like, uptight, plans everything, books her day. She has, you know, she never has any time for fun, and the hero is the fun-loving, party-going guy. And so they end up getting paired together because they are going to like do all of their class assignments together for the year. They had a previous history. They went to the same high school, and then they like always butted heads in high school, and they had one like magical evening at prom or something like that, and then something ended badly there, and that's kind of where I'm at now. They've had their first hookup, and I'm interested to see where the story goes. I will say I read The Deal. That was like my first sports romance, and I didn't like it at all, and I think it has kind of colored my experience with sports romances, and this has a very similar feeling to The Deal. I know that a lot of people say that like that series is like the best sports series there is. This one has a very similar feeling to that one. It's okay so far. I am enjoying it. It's not, you know, a pain to read. It's just not necessarily something that is up my alley. It's something that I will remember or care about going forward. And I will say, like, the reason that this was on the list for Punk 57 was that, like, it's like an enemies to lovers situation, and there really is like no basis for enemies to lovers. They're just like different personalities, and they bump heads because they have different ways of doing things, like different work ethics, and they like unfairly judge each other. So it's not super strong enemies to lovers, and it's gotten over obviously pretty quickly, so yeah. And then the other book that I am several hours into the audiobook for is Wolfgang Wilde. This is the paranormal romance that was with the Dear Ava. So this is a alpha male hero, and immediately I was sucked into the story. So this is about Mateo, who is a wolf shifter who has been cursed to not be able to shift, and so he can hear the point of view of his wolf in his head, and his wolf's name is Alpha, and it gives very much Eddie Brock Venom vibes. Like, their relationship is very similar. Venom is really similar, except he's way more sexual. Like, Venom is all about killing people and eating brains and stuff, whereas Alpha is like all about fucking women. So it's a very fun interaction. The distinct voices in the audiobook are fantastic, and it's hilarious to listen to them. Like, the reason that the hero and the heroine work so closely together is because in the beginning of the book, the hero goes to the heroine's family shop. She's a witch in New Orleans, and asks to break the curse on him, and so they are working together. In addition to that, she's helping him because she kind of quiets the alpha. He like stays a little quiet when she's around, and gets like, he's not as restless when she's around. So they worked out a deal that while they're trying to figure out how to break the curse, she will give him 4 hours of her day where he gets to, you know, do whatever he needs to do to get done without the alpha, you know, being a big problem. So it is super, super fun. There will be scenes of them together where I almost called him Eddie, where Mateo is like super attracted to Evie. Her name is Evie, where he is like super attracted to Evie. He'll be like trying to keep it cool, and then Alpha will come in with like some super sexual comments, and like you'll hear it just like interspersed into his thoughts, and it's so funny the way that they banter back and forth between each other. It's so funny, and it's just a really enjoyable listen. I'm very excited to continue on the series. I'm not even 50% of the way through this one, and I know it's going to be at the very least a very high 4 stars. So the plan is to finish Shameless King. I have some videos and things that I need to edit, so I'm going to be doing that first. I would like to finish Shameless King and get a little bit more through Wolfgang Wilde. But yes, now that he's not in my lap, this is the other special edition that I have of A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. Again, I got like the scratch and dent sale. We will talk a little bit later on.
Sitting in silence, we still feel the vibe. You could not say a word, and I know what you just decided. We'd be right in the same wave. Oh, the water's perfect, babe. The heat is rising, the time is melting from my fingertips. So nothing compares to this. Nothing ever will compare to this. You and I making fire, I can take ya. I can make it better, baby. Running away.
Hi friends, this is just going to be another clip of messy updates. The fairs are out, so this is going to be a little scatterbrained, but I ended up finishing 2 books since we last talked. I finished Shameless King, and I ended up giving this 3 stars. Kind of the same feelings that I was having in my first update. It was just okay. Like, this kind of story, this very linear plot is not very interesting to me. They, you know, have this enemies to lovers. Enemies is done within like the first 30 pages. Like, it just was okay. I didn't find the sports aspect particularly interesting, so it just wasn't a very gripping story. And then I also finished Wolfgang Wilde, and I gave this 5 stars. This was absolutely fantastic. It was hilarious. Like I mentioned in my first clip, it has this kind of Venom and Eddie Brock element to it between Alpha and Mateo, which I absolutely loved. It made for a hilarious dynamic. I loved that the heroine was so into comics and Marvel, and she wanted to be an artist herself, and she really loved art, and she had very realistic reservations about what she wanted to do with her life and the impact that other people have had on those reservations. And I loved her family. I'm very interested in continuing the series, and I would definitely say that this book fits the Alpha Mellow recommendation category. I would say this is very similar to Dear Ava. Shameless King, I would say, is not anything like Punk 57. 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. There really is very minimal animosity between the 2. It's just that they like push each other's buttons, which it's like sexual tension, but it's not really anything else. And that's kind of how I felt about the romance in general, is like I didn't really feel anything between them besides like them being horny teenagers. So, you know, those are the 2 updates for those. I would definitely highly recommend that you pick up Wolfgang Wilde. I really enjoyed it. The audiobook was fantastic, and I think that the story overall was just a great time. Again, this is like kind of an exception to my non-linear romance rule, because it does just follow this guy who is trying to get his hex broken. There really isn't a whole lot going on other than that, but it was just funny. Their chemistry was nuts, and the writing of it was just exceptional. So that means that I have 3 books left. I started the audiobook for Scoundrel of My Heart, but I'm not very far in, and then I'm going to start my physical book. I think I'm probably going to start Lady of Rooksgrave Manor, and we will talk when one of those has an interesting development. I am 237 pages into the 383 page long A Lady of Rooksgrave Manor. If you are looking for like 300 plus pages of monster smut, and I use that term very liberally, I don't like to refer to things as smut. If you are just looking for smut, this is it. It's her banging a bunch of monsters. Like, there's no other way to describe it. There's like 4 or 5 guys that are monsters. There's like a sphinx, there's an invisible guy, there's a werewolf, a golem. Like, there's a bunch of different guys in this that she is banging. And at the beginning of the book, she is working as a maid, and this man comes to her who is a doctor and offers her a position, well, like, introduces her to this wayward women's house, I guess. And she goes there, and it's a place for women to live and have gentlemen callers. And that's pretty much the extent of it. There's like a very, very loose plot line threaded through it, but like, we all know that's not what you're reading this for. And I mean, it's good. Is it overly long for smut? Yes. Like, do I wish that it was 100 pages shorter? Yes. But I'm not mad at it. So this is gonna be 3 to 4 stars. I'm not quite sure. We'll see how much longer I feel like it drags out. We're getting a teeny tiny bit more plot, but it's just like a girl riding monster dick, so. And then I'm also about halfway through A Scoundrel of My Heart, and I love this so much. So I will say, if you don't like time skips and you don't like inaccuracies in historical romance, then you won't like this, because the characters in it, the hero is very feminist, has very feminist ideals, and there are big time skips. So if you don't like those things, then you won't like this. But this is going to be a very weird comparison, but this is giving me major Chain of Gold vibes. And I don't know if it's just because I want to read that series, and so like I'm living for things that make me feel the same way that Chain of Gold did, but that's just how like I'm feeling right now, and I'm really liking it. In the beginning of this, Catherine, she is talking to her friends about this duke who has put an advert out in the mail for all like the eligible women in the area to like send him a letter with all of their great attributes, so that at a ball that he's hosting, he can like select whoever has the honor of marrying him. And so like they're all talking about how they're gonna write him a letter. Catherine's friend's brother is there, and they have always kind of danced around each other. They never really got along. He was a teaser, but he always like really was like really into her, and it was like teasing her to get a rise out of her and rile her up. He offers to help her draft this letter to the Duke to win his favor, because she needs to marry a titled gentleman to get her grandmother's cottage, which is like her dream. And so that's kind of her aspirations. And the hero is he's like in love with her. He's been in love with her. He knows that she is like his end all be all. She is like everything that he wants in a woman. And so he offers to help her, and then things progress from there. They end up getting separated at some point. It's like a couple-year gap, and we are back with the couple interacting, and it revolves around a den of iniquity and a bunch of other fun stuff. But it's just giving me very much the angst that I love about Cassandra Clare books. And if you've read Cassandra Clare, then you know what I'm talking about. But like, just the vibe of it is just everything that I'm really wanting. Is it gonna be 5-star at this point? I don't think so, but I am really enjoying it. And there's been several scenes where the heroine is like doing her thing, and I am loving it. I prefer that my historicals have more modern ways of thinking, at least for our hero and our heroine. Even if it's not really realistic, like it doesn't need to be realistic, but I'm not trying to be out here reading a romance about a dude that actually treated women how women were treated back then. Like, that's just not sexy to me. So I don't mind that kind of thing. And it also, like, the language of them using more like modern language, that doesn't bother me either. So I'm really enjoying this, and I'm excited to finish it. It could be a 5-star. At this point, it's a strong 4, but that's the update. I am 50% of the way through Dark Notes, and I'm gonna cry. I just finished Dark Notes, and this was 100% a 5-star. I don't want to get too much into it because I think this is one of those books that like you have to experience yourself. I definitely recommend that if you're interested in this, that you look up the trigger warnings. This is incredibly heavy. There's a lot of abuse in here, but it's just beautiful. Like, if you watched my best reads of 2021, you'll know that like a theme amongst the best books that I read last year was like beautiful relationships, and this is just one of them. And again, I don't want to like talk about it too long because I think this is one of those things that I just want everybody to experience if they can, and just understand like the magic and the beauty of it. So if you haven't read this already and you do, please let me know, because I want to talk about this so desperately, and I want to do it with someone that is new or is going into this with no knowledge, and is just experiencing it for themselves, because this is fantastic. 5 stars. I will say it does drag a little bit, but that's just like my own personal things that I don't really like in romance, but I obviously still love this, still give 5 stars, and I think it's going to be on another list of like beautiful relationships. So definitely recommend, definitely check your trigger warnings, but this was a success. In regards to its ties with Birthday Girl, I think that's what this recommendation is for. I would say yes. There is the age gap, and like the beauty of the relationship feels very similar, obviously way darker, but I think it's a good comparison if you like that and can also read dark romance. So 5 stars, really loved it. The last book that I have to read for this is Scoundrel of My Heart, and I again only have like a couple more hours left, so we will come and wrap up the vlog when I have finished that one. I am here to wrap up the video because I finished Scoundrel of My Heart and I gave it 4 stars. So I really liked this. I think that the like time skip kind of messed me up. It's not my favorite aspect, but I did really like their relationship. I think that they worked really well together. Feminist characters, I really liked our hero. I think that he was like a perfect modern day hero. Again, if you don't necessarily like more new modern thoughts in your historicals, and you're not gonna like this, but I did really enjoy this. I didn't think it was a 5-star because, like I said, the time skips kind of messed me up, and it lost a little bit of like the connection, because we were just starting to form a connection in the beginning, and then we lost it a little bit in that time skip. I didn't think we did a good enough job establishing the relationship after the time skip. So 4 stars, I really enjoyed it. And in comparison to Birthday Shot, it's very different. Birthday Shot is obviously way smuttier. It's only like 100 pages. It's a contemporary, like they're not comparable in any way. But it does like have that trope to it, but they're not comparable in books themselves. So that's the last thing that I had to read for this video. I think I had a fantastic time. I had 2 new favorites, Dark Notes and Wolfgang Wilde, and I had some 4 stars, I had a 3-star. So overall, this was a successful video. I definitely am happy that I did it. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. I would love to hear your thoughts on any of the books that I read down in the comments, what you thought of the books if you have read them yourself. Other than that, thanks so much for watching. Please consider subscribing, and I will catch you guys in my next one.
Sitting in silence, we still feel the vibe, but you could not say a word, and I know what you just decided. We'd be right in the same wave. All the water's perfect, babe.